Barbara, are there any services that City Hall is paying for now that you would cut? If so, what are they?
I wouldn't say there were specific services that I would cut, but I would like to find out how efficient they are, because we, as homeowners and city people that live in the city, are being asked to live within our means by everyone, and I would like City Hall to try to live within their means. If we don't have the money, we've just finished some big projects. I know there are some money issues, and we just have to become more efficient.
Thank you. Graeme.
It's a difficult question because the issue with most city services isn't so much should we, shouldn't we. It's how well we can do it. I'm sure we all appreciate that we have police and fire service in one way or another. If we were to remove them entirely, it would be a difficult thing to do. What we need to do is, as was mentioned, focus on the efficiencies within it. It was only, I believe, last year that the city stopped plowing certain private lanes. And in some parts of the administration, they weren't even aware that this practice was continuing. It's that kind of communication between departments that we can find savings no matter what it is. We can use modern GIS, geographic information systems, to reduce costs of things like waste disposal, whereby we use the trucks that we have now to empty the bins which need to be emptied when they need to be emptied. We can use this kind of technology to improve our services the city over, and without cutting a single thing.
Thank you. Anne-Marie.
Well, there could be some duplication of different jobs. For instance, when we're talking about works department, etc. And I think what we have to do is look at different departments and just see where the delivery or efficiency of these departments, what we can look at. I don't think, maybe it's happening now, but I don't know whether they're having appraisals, performance appraisals, and job descriptions. I don't know that. So I think as a councillor, I would want to see that because that's how you find your efficiencies and how you save money. There's a lot of duplication, I think, in some cases.
Jerry.
Not knowing the different departments, it's hard to answer that question, but I'm sure there's overlays in different departments. And the one I have is the fire department with the ambulance, with the police car, with sometimes 2 fire trucks, and it's somebody that doesn't require fire, doesn't require police, it requires the ambulance, right? And it's not just the gas they're burning, it's not, it's a possibility, accidents that could occur, etc. And I really think that's got to be looked at somewhere down the line.
Alan.
The question, I believe, was, are there any services that I would cut? In specific, no. What I would recommend and suggest to council would be that we combine a number of services that are very similar, that deal with much the same issue. Within our planning department, we could put our, excuse me, within our planning department, I've lost my train of thought. That happens once in a while.
Well, that's all right. We'll come back in the open session.
Thank you.
And we'll follow up.
Thank you.
Michelle?
Thank you. It's my understanding that the fire department routinely does inspections on fire traps, a lot of them, and the general population is paying for that. I think that the fee for that should be charged back to the property owner so that the general population is not paying for it. And then perhaps we wouldn't have so many fire traps. Same thing with inspections. When we have our building inspectors going in and looking at minimum standards and spending a lot of time in these buildings, rather than have us, the general taxpayer, pay for it, put that bill back on the property owner. If it hits them in the pocketbook, perhaps they'd be more likely to fix the buildings up, and we'd be saving money. Thank you.
Brian.
Thank you. As for the question of specific services I would cut, or organizations, whatever, in City Hall, not specifically, because I don't know the specifics of each and every department, but I have never worked for a company, a businessman, a businesswoman, an owner of a business, anything where my job was not reviewed every year. My efficiency was not reviewed on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And until we start doing that as council and not putting it off on somebody else, making sure they are coming to council and saying, this is it, there will be no thoughts of it. There will be no bringing everything into an efficiency part of it. And we need to make sure that every organization, every person that gets money from City Hall, and I'm not talking about little nonprofits that come and ask for a few bucks here and there. I'm talking about 500 millions of dollars going out of City Hall. We need to make sure they're being efficient in order to get that money.
Thank you. Okay, what we'll do first is open it up to a general debate. Last time I checked, the city budget was about $147 million. A lot of that is tied up in salaries and wages. Some of those salaries and wages are in fact protected under contracts. In a city with a high unemployment rate, should city workers have protections?
I'll answer. Oh, sorry.
Michelle,
okay,
I'll go to you,
great.
and then Alan, I'll go.
Obviously, a discussion that's on the floor right now is the 293, and it absolutely represents the status quo. And at a time when people are losing their homes, their jobs, their pensions, it's sort of like a pin in the eye. It doesn't feel that it's fair. I think that St. Johners deserve the right to have their departments right-sized so that we can effectively and efficiently deliver services at a fair price to everybody. So moving forward, we need to find a balance, work together and cooperatively negotiate a new contract that would see the same quality services delivered at an effective price. Thank you.
Alan.
I agree, Michelle. We need them at an effective price. We need our services to be affordable. The issue I have with said protections within certain contracts is simply that it makes one person or group who is employed by the city to seem to be receiving specialized treatment. You're protected. Just because someone is on a union within the city, and many who are currently within a union on the city have in recent years suffered great job cuts because of city cutbacks. I'm talking about a transit union. They weren't protected. In fact, they have been trying for many years to get onto a pension plan as well to help that, and they haven't been allowed to. So the other unions who are on contract with the city, I have no problem with them, but with the free discussion on their wages and the benefits. That is what negotiations is like for within a contract. The issue is when any one or two seems preferential.
Yes,
For
Emery.
instance, the outside workers, Local 18, they've made a contract with the City of St. John. And I think that, I know that that has to be honored. I think that's very important. But also I think negotiations are important for both sides, for the City of St. John and the outside workers. Sit down and look to see what is going to benefit the citizens and not hurt the citizens when it comes to paying salaries. I think you have to give and take.
I'll let Jerry come in because this is an important topic.
Yeah.
Since 1981, when Local 18 received the number 293, not one single council has ever asked it to be removed. None. It's a contract that was negotiated in 81. What the city got in exchange, or what the union got, it was a negotiated collective agreement. But no council has ever asked that number to be removed. It never came up in negotiations. So the number itself is something that politicians like to play with. Simple as that there. Right now, there's presently, I think, 271 people working in Local 18. In 1981, there was over 600 people working.
Okay, I think the mic just turned off, unfortunately. We'll continue some of this discussion, but first we'll go back to the panel.
Certainly, Mr. Stewart-Robertson. On both an absolute and a per capita basis, St. John has more employees in fire and police than any other community in New Brunswick. Do you believe that the budgets for protective services should be changed, and if so, how?
Protective services are absolutely, as I mentioned earlier, a critical part of any city, and in particular a city with such a huge industrial base as the city of St. John. Having good, secure protective services is paramount to making sure that we as citizens are safe each and every day. With that being said, there are absolutely ways that I believe that we could start looking at reducing the costs of these services, not to reduce the amount of protection we have, not to take issue with anyone in particular who holds those positions, but simply because we all realize that our city needs sweeping changes in virtually every department. And if we leave any of those off the block, it's in essence preferential treatment in one way or the other. It's something that we have to look at the nitty-gritty. We have to look at each bit of every contract for reducing costs, for perhaps reducing our service area as well. As mentioned, as we aim to curb sprawl, as we intensify growth in our center, these service costs will decrease, and that is an absolute moving forward.
Thank you. Anne-Marie?
Well, I think a lot of the, we're talking about fire. Are we talking fire and police? Is that what we're talking about? I think a lot have retired because of the pension. Now, the thing is, are these people are they being replaced? I think that the city of St. John and council have to sit down again, like I mentioned earlier, and check, each department, fire department, police department, and just see safety-wise, efficiency-wise, where we can save, and work with the unions, negotiating for the right thing for the citizens, because they're the taxpayers, they're the ones that pay their salary.
Jerry?
Yeah. The geographic area of the city creates a very serious problem. In '73, the city was built for 265,000 people, and we're short 200,000 today. So therefore, the large area is being policed, fire, etc., based on 265,000 people. And it's quite obvious today that the population we got and trying to service what we are, that's where our problem lies.
Alan?
How do we police a city this size? How do we protect it from fire? How do we save money at the same time? We right size at the right price for the right coverage. There have been many people who have said many different things and many ways to save money in the police department, save money in the fire department. I'm not going to go into them. We simply need the right size department at the right price that we can afford, that will give us the coverage we need.
Thank you. Michelle?
Thank you, Kurt. St. John has the oldest building stock in all of Canada. We're also an industrial city, so I would never support cutting safety, but we have to find efficiencies so that we can deliver the service the citizens expect at a price we can afford. Thank you.
Wonderful. Brian?
I will not cut fire or police budget unless it's the absolute necessity to do so. If we can't find other efficiencies in other departments, I'm not playing politics with people's safety. I like that the fire departments are first responders because we don't have an ambulance service in New Brunswick or in St. John that we pay for ourselves through the city. It's through Ambulance NB. They may be clear across down in the Hampton or wherever, and they may take a little bit longer. I'm not saying I wouldn't look at their budget and I wouldn't find the efficiencies, but what I'm saying is they're not going to be the first ones that I hit, even though they are the most expensive two services we have. They are the most necessary services that we have as well. Thank you.
Number one, as someone who lives here in this ward, like I said, you want clean, safe drinking water. You want police protection, fire protection, and safe roads. I like to go to sleep at night and know that the drug dealer next door is not going to be there. The corner store across the way that's been robbed 3 times, they're going to be there when we call. And I want to know that the people that are safe in this community are going to wake up and know that we're paying our best value for our dollar. We're not looking for efficiencies, we're looking for the inefficiencies to get that money back, to make us work more cohesive. And it's, last I looked on Common Council, it's not a one-person show, it's a team effort, and you're only as good as the people behind you. Thank you.
Thank you. When you look at the statistics, the police in St. John on a per capita basis, it's the largest force of any major urban center in the country. But of course, when you look at the crime data, crime has been constantly declining. So is it not time that we have an honest discussion about the size of our police force? Is it not time that we cut the budget?
I'm going to start off by saying it's always time to have an honest discussion about anything. It doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter what the topic is. It's time to air things out. We have to have the information at the table to make the right decision. If these statistics show this, we can move forward on that. If we use, for example, the same geographic technology that I explained earlier, we can focus on reducing the response time of our services as well, perhaps in conjunction with a reduction in staff or a reduction in people, overtime costs, that sort of thing. We can do all of these things using a progressive knowledge, a best practice taken from around the world. We don't have to exist in a silo as a city. We can look abroad, we can look elsewhere, take those ideas and adapt them uniquely to the city of St. John so that we have the best of both worlds.
Other thoughts?
I think we need our police more out on the streets. We have a lot of police officers that are doing paperwork and office stuff that could be taken care of by somebody else at a lower cost. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be cutting their budget. What I'm saying is they need to be the last one that's as a protective service to make sure that that budget is the last thing that we touched. They also have the no layoff clause in their contracts as well. So if we're going to keep putting in the number of 293 and the no layoff clause, it's St. John's own fault. Like Mr. Lowe said, since '81, no one has questioned that number. No one has brought it up in contract negotiations. It was an automatic thing. It kept getting pushed through. So if we're not going to step forward and do it, who is?
Michelle.
Thank you, Kurt. I'm going to build on what Brian was just saying. It's troubling when you think that you would have a high-paid police officer doing office work. If that work should be done by an administration person at half the cost. So those are the sorts of things that we need to start talking about, and not in an accusing, argumentative type of way, but in a real way. We only have so much money, and we have to be able to provide the service. And so to do it efficiently and effectively, we need to look at wherever we can save money. Thank you.
Wonderful. Barb, do you have any other thoughts?
Thanks.
Any other? Oh, Jerry.
Well, the police department, I mean, the police commission runs the police department. I mean, it's supposed to be non-political, which I believe it is. So for the people working on the job itself, they answer to the chief and the deputies, and then there's a police commission that answers that to council. So I mean, if the crime's going down, that's a good thing. They must be doing a good job. And I go back to the geographic part of this city, how big it is from the lower part of West Side to out to Lakewood, which is part of the city. And I think that's why we have the number of police officers that we do. It goes back to '73, when the city was laid out for 265,000 people. It's very simple.
Any other comments? Oh,
I think the commission is, as Jerry said, the commission is the oversight for the police. And they are doing a good job. I think that also they need to get out in the street and meet more people and get out of the cars. But that's part of the chief's job to do that. And I think we're very thankful that we do have a good police force here in St. John.
But we are the oversight of the police commission. We as council
are the money.
We are council. We are the leaders of this city. We are taking people's trust into us and saying, lead us to where we need to go. So if we're not pulling back and saying this is what we want, then we're going to get the same thing that we have since 73 and 81 and 86 and 92. We're not moving forward. We need to keep moving forward.
I don't think it's a question about whether or not the police are doing a good job. It's whether or not we can afford them.
Here. Okay. Well, we've had a robust discussion on a number of issues. I think it's that time of the night where we actually turn to closing statements. And as I discussed earlier this evening, we're going to go in a reverse order. So our first candidate to speak will be Graeme.
Thank you very much, Kurt. It's been a really enlightening evening, I'm sure, for all of us in attendance and for those at home. The thing that I want to drive home is that in the city of St. John, we have choices. Over the past several decades, we've made choices for a number of reasons. It could be fear, it could be desperation, it could be the right decision. But oftentimes, as we've seen, they have created a legacy that we now are faced with dealing with. The key is that we don't have to be desperate anymore. We don't have to be afraid anymore. There are good choices here around this debate. There are good choices with informed decisions. There are great people here that care a great deal. I'm one of them. I'm a fresh face with fresh ideas that would be a breath of fresh air on St. John Common Council. On May 13th or on May 4th, I urge all of you to get out and vote. Maybe not for me, but exercise your right and make the choice that's fresh, informed, and at the end of the day, will make St. John a better place.
Thank you. Barbara.
I want the people of this ward and the people of St. John to know that I also want you to exercise your right to vote, because you are the ones who can have the strong voice with the candidate that you choose. I too am new, but I have integrity, I'm honest, and I'm hardworking. And I can guarantee that 1 minute after the polls close on May the 13th, I'll still be the same Barbara Ellenberg that entered into this race. I'll be loving the city and caring about the people in it, and that's all I have to say.
Brian.
Thank you. It has been a great night, a lot of great ideas and a lot of open, honest discussions. I wish we all could have been here. But we need to move forward, and we need to stop looking backwards. We need to learn from our past, live in our future, and live in the present and prepare for our future. We need to make sure that we're leaving a city that our kids and grandkids and our nieces and nephews are going to be proud of. We need to make sure that we are moving forward with our water, we're moving forward with our transit, we're moving forward with our roads, we're moving forward with all these issues at City Hall, that we need to make sure that we're putting together a plan that's effective and efficient. We need to make sure City Hall is held accountable, as well as each and every councillor out there is held accountable to what you're voting them for. We need to make sure that your vote is your vote and you take your vote very seriously. May 4th, advance polls, May 13th, general election. Go out, make sure your vote is heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle.
Thank you. Like so many other families, my kids left St. John to find work. They're building their lives out west, and I miss them every day. I believe St. John can be the first choice for families and our children to build their lives and their future. But we'll need good jobs. To have good jobs, we need investment. And we'll have that investment if people that are looking at St. John feel and see that St. John is a positive and vibrant place to do business. We need to keep moving in a forward direction and celebrate everything that's awesome about St. John, even while we work on our challenges. Mayor Mel Norton and Council are moving the city in a positive direction. Now is not the time to go back to the old way of doing things. We need cooperation, collaboration, and integrity at the council table. A vote for me, Michelle Hooton, on May 13th is a vote to keep St. John and Ward 3 moving forward.
Thank you. Alan.
Thank you. Thank you to the paper and for Rogers for putting on this event tonight. To you, the citizen of St. John, I don't make promises. They're too easy to forget. I have been where you are. I have lived in that one-room apartment with the chipped paint, the cracked plaster on the walls, the carpet that came from somewhere back in the 50s. And I don't think it was cleaned in 30 years. Or sure didn't seem that way. I've made a lot of probably pretty rough-sounding points tonight. I'm not a rough-sounding person. I'm not normally argumentative. But when it comes to my city, I'm passionate. And I want to be passionate for you, and I want to hear from you. Thank you.
Jerry.
I want to thank the Telegraph, Rogers, the other candidates, people that came tonight. What I have to offer as a councillor for Ward 3 is my business experience at different businesses. I employed hundreds of people over my lifetime, and my ability to negotiate through arbitration boards and conciliation boards I sat on. I finished up by building the houses overlooking the harbor, and I have now the time to serve the people of Ward 3. I'll stay for the next 3 years if elected. I have no political ambition. I did it on my own money, and I just thank everybody for coming here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne-Marie.
I have strong strengths. I've got no hidden agenda or represent the interests of any group or sector. I'm here for all people. I believe my 26 years in business and involvement in the community has made me a reliable, steadfast person who's not afraid to speak out and am ready to do a 24/7 commitment. Accountability, I have proven that record. Perseverance, I never give up. A can-do attitude, I am a doer. If I see a problem, I try to come up with a solution through consensus and take action. These are the characteristics that I want to bring to council. And I want you, the taxpayers of St. John, to get out and vote on May 4th, which is the advance polls, also May 13th. And I would like for you to consider me as your councillor for Ward 3. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, on behalf of Rogers TV and the New Brunswick Telegraph-Journal, I would like to thank all of our candidates, Anne-Marie Mullen, Jerry Lowe, Alan Leslie, Michelle Hooton, Brian Boyd, Barbara Ellenberg, and Graeme Stewart-Robertson. I'd like to thank all of you for participating tonight. I'd like to thank the panel for asking some very informative questions. And I'd like to thank you, the audience, for listening so attentively. And I'd also like to thank you, the viewers at home. Thank you. As it's been mentioned, the voting day is May 13th. There is an advance poll this very weekend. The debate itself will be broadcast on Rogers TV. The time is available on their website, rogerstv.com. And if you need information about getting to the polls, remember you can always access electionsnb.ca. Thank you again for coming, and please remember to vote. Take care.